Join us as we explore Strasbourg city through my own travel vlog experiences, walking the streets, tasting the food, and discovering what makes this place so special. In this Strasbourg Travel Guide vlog, I'll show you top 10 best things to do in Strasbourg, France, best places to visit, hidden gems, and must-see Strasbourg attractions. Perfect if you're wondering what to do in Strasbourg in one day. By the end of this video, you'll find the most important travel tips and practical information, and I'll be waiting for your likes and your specific questions in the comments. Walking through Petite France was one of those moments where I felt like I had stepped straight into a fairy tale rather than a real city, especially with the canals quietly flowing between the half-timbered houses. I took my time here, wandering without a plan, letting the reflections on the water and the sound of footsteps on cobblestones set the pace of my day. Every corner felt intentionally beautiful, yet nothing felt staged, which made the experience feel authentic rather than touristic. I recommend coming early in the morning or around golden hour, when the light softens the buildings and the crowds thin out noticeably. This is the part of Strasbourg where slowing down truly pays off, so don't rush it and let the atmosphere do the work. Visiting Strasbourg's churches gave me a deeper appreciation of the city's layered history, especially when moving from the grandeur of the cathedral to the calmer, more intimate churches nearby. Inside the cathedral, I remember standing still for a long moment, overwhelmed by the scale, the details, and the quiet echo of footsteps around me. St. Thomas Church felt completely different, with a peaceful and almost understated beauty that invited reflection rather than awe. St. Nicholas Church added another layer to the experience, showing how faith and daily life have been intertwined here for centuries. I suggest spacing these visits throughout your day so each one feels meaningful rather than rushed. Taking a boat cruise was one of the most relaxing things I did in Strasbourg, especially after a long day of walking through the old town. Seeing familiar streets and landmarks from the water gave me a fresh perspective and helped me understand how the city is shaped by its canals and river. The audio explanations added context without being overwhelming, which made it easy to enjoy the ride while still learning something new. After the cruise, I continued with a slow riverside walk, letting the calm atmosphere linger a little longer. This combination is perfect if you want to rest your legs but still feel connected to the city. Exploring Strasbourg's famous streets felt like flipping through different chapters of the same story, each one with its own mood and rhythm. Rue Mercière stood out the most for me, especially with its classic views and lively energy that made me stop for photos more than once. Grand Rue felt more local and everyday, which I really appreciated after the busier areas. Smaller streets like Rue du Maroquin and Rue des Orfèvres surprised me with their charm and quieter corners. My advice is to explore these streets on foot without constantly checking your map, because the best moments happen in between. Shopping for souvenirs in Strasbourg was less about buying things and more about discovering local craftsmanship and traditions. I found that smaller shops offered more meaningful items than the obvious tourist stores, especially when it came to food products and handmade goods. Taking time to talk with shop owners added a personal touch and often led to better recommendations. I focused on items that felt connected to the region rather than generic souvenirs I could find anywhere else. If you choose carefully, your souvenirs from Strasbourg can bring back memories long after the trip ends. Strolling through Strasbourg's main squares felt like watching the city change its personality every few minutes, especially as I moved from the grandeur of Place de la Cathédrale to the more open and lively feel of Place Kléber. I often found myself stopping without realizing it, just to observe street musicians, locals meeting friends, and travelers reacting to their first glimpse of the cathedral. Place Gutenberg felt calmer and more refined, a place where I enjoyed slowing down and taking in the surrounding facades without any rush. Place Benjamin Zix, tucked near Petite France, had a more intimate and romantic atmosphere that I personally loved, especially in the evening. My recommendation is to visit these squares at different times of the day, because the mood completely changes from morning calm to evening buzz. Exploring Alsatian architecture was one of the highlights of my time in Strasbourg, because the details are impossible to appreciate unless you really take your time. The half-timbered houses, colorful facades, and slightly uneven lines made everything feel handmade and alive rather than polished and modern. I kept looking up constantly, noticing carvings, wooden beams, and small design elements that photos never fully capture. What I enjoyed most was how these historic buildings are still part of everyday life, with shops, homes, and cafes operating inside them. My advice is to slow your pace, look above eye level, and let the architecture tell its own story. Eating at a local Winstub was one of the most authentic experiences I had in Strasbourg, especially after a long day of walking. I remember sitting down for tarte flambée, expecting something simple, and being surprised by how comforting and flavorful it was. Choucroute felt like a true regional dish, filling and rich, especially when paired with a glass of local wine that perfectly balanced the flavors. The atmosphere inside these traditional restaurants felt warm and unpretentious, which made the food taste even better. I highly recommend choosing a place filled with locals rather than tourists, because that's where the experience feels real. Walking along the covered bridges was one of those moments where Strasbourg's medieval past felt very present and tangible. The combination of stone towers, flowing water, and historic surroundings created a dramatic yet peaceful atmosphere. I took my time here, stopping often to take photos and simply enjoy the view from different angles. What surprised me most was how calm it felt, despite being such an iconic and well-known spot. I recommend visiting both during the day and later in the evening, when the lighting adds a completely different mood. Experiencing Strasbourg's Christmas markets felt like stepping into a living postcard, especially with the lights, decorations, and festive energy filling the streets. I loved how each market had its own character, making it enjoyable to wander without a fixed plan. The smell of hot food, spices, and warm drinks made the cold weather feel cozy rather than uncomfortable. Even when it was crowded, the atmosphere remained joyful and inviting, which made the experience feel special rather than overwhelming. If you visit during this season, my advice is to explore slowly and take breaks, because the magic is in the details. That's everything you need to know before visiting Strasbourg, France. From the best things to do in Strasbourg, France, to practical travel tips that will help you plan with confidence. If you enjoyed this travel vlog and found these Strasbourg attractions helpful, don't forget to like, comment, share the video, and subscribe to my channel for more guides. And if you need more information or personalized advice about Strasbourg City, feel free to ask me in the comments.